How you doing there? Welcome back to Babylon Talmud. Today we're studying Daf Tezayin, Daf 16 of Masechta Nazir, friends. Today on Daf 16 we begin the third parak of Masechta Nazir. We talk about a guy who becomes a Nazir. Let's go weiter. Says the Mishnah and Daf at the beginning of the third parak and Daf Tezayin Amud Aleph Misha Omar. Fellow says, Havini Nazir, I will be a Nazir. Migaleach yom shloshim ve'echad. So he's a Nazir for 30 days, and then on day 31 is when he can get his haircut and wrap things up. If he did all this on the 30th day instead of the 31st day, said, friends, I have a shtickle cold. Obviously, I hope it's going to go away soon. It hasn't been too bad. It's just been like a coldy kind of cold, like nothing major so far. But today has been a little bit coldy, but alright, fine. A fellow says he's going to be a Nazir for 30 days. Well then, it's 30, meaning if he says he's going to be a Nazir for 30 complete days, well then he has to wait 30 complete days. And if he gets a haircut before the end of 30 complete days, i.e. sometime within the 30th day, nisht. It doesn't, no good. A fellow said, you know what? Throw in another one. I'm good for two Nazir experiences. So he gets his haircut for the first one on day 31, and the haircut for the second Naziris on day 61. And if he got his haircut for his first one on day 30, so everything moves up a day. So the second haircut will be on the 60th day. And even if he got a haircut on day 59, no problem. Papias, and Papias gave the following testimony on Mishanozor Nazirus, a fellow volunteered to Nazir experiences, that if he got his first haircut on day 30, so he gets his second one on day 60, and if he gets his haircut on day 59, because if he gets a haircut on day 30, so day 30 already counts both as day 30, but also as day 1 of the next one. So theoretically, just like if you got a haircut on the 30th day, so then that's Beseder, meaning if from the very beginning you got a haircut on day 30, so also if from day 30, right, if day 30 counts as also day 1, if you get a haircut on day 30, then day 30 counts as day 1, so then it would also be, the next 30 would be 59, and even though really you should wait till 60, if you got your haircut on day 59, Seder. Mishomar Reini Nazir, fellow says, I will be a Nazirite. Nitma Yom Shloshim, if he gets Tomei on day 30, Soser es Akol, he has to start all over again. Reb Leizer Omer, says Reb Eliezer, Eino Soser El Shiva, Nisht. Reb Eliezer says, Nisht. He says, no, the Naziris is over. And so he's going to have to wait 7 days while he gets purified, because now he's Tmei Meis. He's no longer a Nazir, he doesn't have to start over, but he's a Tmei Meis. So wait 7 days till he's Tahor, and then, can go weiter and do the whole post-Nazir matzav. Harini Nazir Shloshim Yom. If a fellow says that he's going to be a Nazir for 30 complete days, Nitma Yom Shloshim Soser Sokol, then everybody agrees in that case. If he said 30 complete days and he gets Tomei at some point on day 30, he's got to do Nachamu. He's got to start all over again. Now, the Nazir Mea Yom, fellow says, you know what, I'll be a Nazir 100 days. Nidma Yom Mea, if he got Tomei on day 100, Soser Sakol, he's got to start all over again. Rabbi Eliezer Omer, Eino Soser Ela Shloshim, as we've learned earlier. Where was this? And Daf Vov, apparently. Rabbi Eliezer says that you only have to go back 30 days. Right, so the Tanakama says that if you get Tomei on day 100, you got to start back from the beginning. Rabbi Eliezer says no, you just go back 30 days. Nitma Yom Mea Ve'echod, if he becomes Tomei on day 101, Soser Shloshim Yom. So it is Soser 30 days. Rabbi Eliezer Omer Eino Soser L'Shiva, whereas Rabbi Eliezer says no, at that point, meaning according to the Tanna Kama, if you get Tummy on day 101, then that's already after the Naziris, so then you'd only go back 30 days, whereas Rabbi Eliezer says, no, the Naziris is over by then, and you'd only have to do 7 days. Right, so according to the Tanna Kama, if you become Tamei day 101, so you have to go back 30 days. Rabbi Eliezer says 7 days, because at that point you are considered over with your Naziris. Fine. Mi she'amar hareini Nazir. Says the Gemara, somebody who says he's a Nazir v'nitma yom shloshim, becomes Tamei on day 30. Soser sakol, it undoes everything. Rabbi Eliezer omer in a soser l'shiva. Rabbi Eliezer says no, you only have to wait 7 days of your, just to become tahor from being Tamei Meis. So Rabbi Eliezer call achar milos shiva soser. So because Rabbi Eliezer holds that, look, once it's day 30, mikzas hayom kekulo, comes day 30. Once part of the day has passed, it's already considered like you're done. If you become Tamei at that point, then you just have to wait 7 days of purification. However, Nazir Shloshim Yom, a fellow says that he's going to be a Nazir for 30 days. V'nitma Yom Shloshim, becomes Tamei on day 30. Right, he says he's going to be a Nazir for 30 days, becomes Tamei on day 30. So it's a call. He's got to start all over again. L'palig Rabbi Eliezer, Damer Shleiman. In this case, even Rabbi Eliezer agrees, right, that he's got to start from the beginning, because he said 30 complete days, and therefore they weren't complete days, because he became Tamei on day 30. Already Nazir Mea Yom, a fellow says he's going to be a Nazir for 100 days, Minitma Yom Mea, and becomes Tamei on the 100th day, Soser Sakol, then he's got to start all over again. Rabbi Eliezer Omer Eino Soser Al Shloshim, Rabbi Eliezer says 30 days, V'chulu Kedavinon Ba, Aliba Debai Pada, V'Rav Masna, and we already learned this sugya in the context of Bar Pada and Rav Masna, because we said that according to Rabbi Eliezer, if you become Tamei on the last day of the Nazirus, then it goes back 30 days. It's Gzeres HaKosuf. Okay, fine. Friends, moving on to the next sugya that we're going to be sugyaing the next few days, which is a fellow who becomes a Nazir when he's already in a cemetery. So at the time that he says, I'm going to be a Nazir, he's already Tamei. Now, of course, we know that a Nazir is not allowed to become Tamei Meis. He's already in the cemetery. You hear? So it says the Mishnah, Mishanazav B'Beis HaKvaris, a fellow is in a cemetery, and he says, I'm going to be a Nazir. My oh my. He could wait there in that cemetery for 30 days. It's not going to count as his Naziris, because he's in a cemetery. He said, pledged to be a Nazir when he's already in a cemetery. Maybe Korban Tumah, and when he finally gets out of the cemetery and he waits 7 days and he becomes Tar, he doesn't bring a Korban that a Nazir would normally bring at the end of if he becomes Tamei, at the end of his purification process. Yotza v'nichnas, but if he left the cemetery and became Tahor, and then once he was Tahor and a Nazir, he went into the cemetery, Odin lo min aminin, well then he is a Nazir, and it's the regular sort of procedure for a Nazir who becomes Tamei would ensue. Or maybe Korban Tumah, and once he becomes Tahor, at the end of that, he would bring a Korban Tumah, right? The Korban Tumah of a Nazir, if he was Tahor and then went into the Beis HaKvaris and became Tamei Meis. Rabbi Eliezer Omer lo Bo Bayom, Rabbi Eliezer says that if he becomes Tamei on the day that he pledged to be a Nazir, so if he says, I'm going to be a Nazir, and then that day goes into a cemetery, so then it wouldn't count the regular sort of, then he wouldn't have to start all over from the beginning, because Shenemar V'Yom Rishonim Yiplu Ha'ad Sheyehulo Yomim Rishonim. Then in order to have to start all over again, so then there would have to be at least 2 days, right? It says V'Yomim Harishonim Yiplu, that if he becomes Tamei Meis, he's got to start all over again. That's only if he already had at least 2 days of Naziris. But if he becomes Tamei on the day that he becomes a Nazir, so then he doesn't lose that, and after he becomes Tahor again, so then he can he counts from starting from day 2, not all the way back from day 1. Zog de Gemara, Itmar, it was Taka stated, Mishan Ozar Rubeves HaKvaris. So if a fellow is already in a cemetery and then he pledges to be a Nazir, Rabbi Yochanan Omar, Rabbi Yochanan had gesagt, Nazir is Chala Olav. Oh, says Rabbi Yochanan that Itaka becomes a Nazir at that point, even though he's in a Beis HaKvaris, even though he's in a cemetery, nonetheless, if he pledges to be a Nazir, he becomes a Nazir. For Rish Lakish, Omar says, Rish Lakish, ein Nazir is Chala Olav. Rish Lakish says, Nisht. Rish Lakish says that he can't mapitom. He's in a cemetery, how can he become a Nazir? A Nazir is not allowed to go into a cemetery. How can he become a Nazir if he's already in a cemetery? Rabbi Yochanan Omar, Nazir is Chala Olav. Rabbi Yochanan says that Hitake does become a Nazir. So for Misla Talya V'Kaima, that Enochinami, he can't immediately practice being a Nazir because he is in a cemetery, but it kind of hangs and it waits. Came in the Mashkicha Taire Chaylo. Immediately once he becomes Torah once again, the Naziris that he pledged kicks in at that point. Rish Lakish Amr says Rish Lakish ein Nazirus Chala Olav. Says Rish Lakish Nisht. He does not become a Nazir. If he's in a cemetery and he pledges to be a Nazir, it's irrelevant. If he then goes back after he becomes Torah and says once again, Nachamol, I'm going to be a Nazir, well then he'll be a Nazir. If he doesn't do that, well then he won't be a Nazir because the pledge that he made in the cemetery is irrelevant. Rabbi Yochanan is going to ask 3 kashas on Rish Lakish. Here's kasha number 1. If a fellow, our Mishnah says, a fellow is in a cemetery and he pledges to be a Nazir, even if he was there in 30 days, ein olin min aminyan, they don't count towards his Naziris, ve'eno maybe korban tumah, and he doesn't bring a korban tumah when he becomes Torah. I got a dry throat, excuse me. So normally I got a dry throat. Oh no, am I going to be dealing with dry throatiness? Normally, if a Nazir got Tameh becomes Torah, so he brings a korban, but said our Mishnah that this fellow who pledged to be a Nazir when he's in the cemetery, when he becomes Torah, he will not bring a korban. Korban Tuma Udalo Maisi, Amechol Chaylo Ole. Says Rabbi Yochanan, okay, so he doesn't, you see from our Mishnah, he doesn't have to bring the korban, but he is a Nazir, he doesn't bring a korban, okay, he just doesn't bring a korban, but he's a Nazir. Omar Lei, so responds Rish Lakish, Nisht, Eno B'teiras, Tuma Ve'eno B'teiras, korban. He's Bechlal not Shaykh to Tuma, he's Bechlal not Shaykh, he's not Shaykh to the Torah of Tuma, he's not Shaykh to the Torah of korban, meaning he's not a Nazir Bechlal, and he doesn't have any of the halachis of Nazir vis-a-vis Tumah, and he doesn't have any of the halachis Mimele of Nazir bringing korbanos, because he's Pashid, he wasn't a Nazir Bechlal. Eisve. Rabbi Yochanan asks another kasha on Rish Lakish. Mishaya Tameh v'Nazar, a fellow was Tameh, he was in a cemetery, and he said he's going to be a Nazir. Osur ligaleach v'lishtos yain v'litameh l'meisim. So he's not allowed to, right? He's in a cemetery and he says he's going to be a Nazir. He's not allowed to shave, he's not allowed to drink wine, and he's not allowed to become Tamei Meis. V'im gilach v'shos yain v'nitma l'meisim. And if he did, if he shaved, or if he drank wine, or if he became Tamei Meis, harei zeh soifeg es arboyim malkis he omad b'shloma achayla. So I understand if we say that the Naziris is chal. Hainu time in the Soifik Saraboyim. I understand why we whip him. He was a Nazir. And he drank wine, or he got a haircut, or he got Tmemes. Memela, we whip him. Eli Omad lo chayla, my Soifik Saraboyim. But Rish Lakish, if you're correct, that when he's in the cemetery, and he pledges to be a Nazir, it's irrelevant, why are we whipping him? Aside from the fact that maybe we're just bored and looking for something to do. But that's not, the Gemara is not talking about that. Me'ikar adin, why do we whip him? What are we talking about again? If you're Rish Lakish, you're saying that if he's in a cemetery and he says he's going to be a Nazir, it's irrelevant. So how come if he then drinks wine are we going to whip him? Well, no, here it's talking about where he left the cemetery, waited 7 days, became tahor, and then went back in, and that's why we're whipping him. Okay. Eisvei, Rabbi Yochanan asked Rish Lakish, Nocha Kasha. Ein bein Tamishanozar l'Nazir Torah shenitma. There is no difference between a fellow who's in a cemetery and pledges to be a Nazir, l'Nazir Torah shenitma, and a fellow who's tahor, or a Nazir who's tahor who then became Tami, right? So there's no difference between if he was in a cemetery and then declared his Naziris versus if he was a Nazir and then went into a cemetery. Ella, Tami Shenozar, Shvi Yishlo Ololo Leminyan, that it's a fellow who was already in a cemetery and pledged to be a Nazir. So then, on day 7 of his purification process, he can already start counting that towards his Naziris. V'Nazir Torah Shenitma. But if you have a fellow who's a Nazir and then he becomes Tameh, well then, Ein Shvi Yishlo Ololo Leminyan. Well then, in his 7-day purification process, he's got to wait a full 7 days, and only on day 8 can he begin counting. And if it enters your mind that a fellow who is in a cemetery and pledges to be a Nazir is not B'chlal a Nazir, so amai olalo min aminin. What does it mean that day 7 of the purification counts for him as part of his Naziris? He's not a Nazir B'chlal. According, right, Rish Lakish, you're saying that a fellow is in a cemetery and then pledges to be a Nazir, it's irrelevant. So then, what does it mean that then on day 7 of his purification process, that's when his Naziris, that's when he starts counting his Naziris? Counting what Naziris? We said that whatever he pledged is irrelevant. There is no Naziris B'chlal to speak of. So it's a kasha on Rish Lakish, and we will stop here with this kasha on Rish Lakish. Very interesting daf. The first part of the daf was basically the first amud was the first mishnah of the third parak of Masechta Nazir, which talked about what day a Nazir shaves on. That sounds like ideally you would shave on day 31, but if you did day 30, then it would work as well. And then we talked about the situation of a fellow who's in a cemetery, and while in the cemetery pledges to be a Nazir. We saw the machlokes in Rabbi Yochanan and Rish Lakish. Rabbi Yochanan says that he already becomes a Nazir at the time that he makes his pledge, and it just kind of waits to kick in until after his Nazirus, until after he becomes tahor. Whereas Rish Lakish says no, the statement is irrelevant. In order for him to be a Nazir, he would have to wait until after he becomes pure and then restate his intention to be a Nazir. However, we refuted that at the end of the daf. Friends, that was Daf Tez Zayin of Masechta Nazir. I hope you enjoyed. Peace out.